The recording, I'll be sending this to Miss Kim Reed, and she will be putting it somewhere, I think, on the Etowah County website. So if you did want to go back and review this, you have access to it. I will also probably put this recording on my YouTube channel. And that way, if you need to, you can access it. So because I'm going to be talking and presenting and demonstrating things, I can't really go back and forth to the chat. So I know Kim is here. She can help me with this. But also, if you see somebody pop in the chat and say, where's this slideshow? Where is she? If you don't mind copying and pasting that link so others can access it, that would be great. All right, so on this first slide, you see my contact information. My email is there. My Twitter handle is there. I have a couple of them. This is one of them. I do feel like that this is probably one of the #1 questions I get: how to use Schoology. How's Schoology going to work with Power Teacher Pro? So I've spent a lot of time training on that. If you've never been in a session with me before, I'm with Alabama Technology in Motion out of the JSU Regional In-Service Center. I've been doing that job since 2015. Prior to that, I was a technology integration specialist for 5 years in St. Clair County. And then in a previous life, for 13 years, I was a high school English teacher. I'm a proud nationally board certified teacher as well. And so sometimes when I talk about this program, I do look at it from a secondary lens because that's where my experience is. But I also try to understand what your needs are as an elementary teacher. So that is my button reminding me to record, and I am actually already recording. But I do have a survey that I would like everybody to weigh in on if you can access it. And I'm actually going to go back to this slide, and I'm going to paste this URL into the chat so that you'll have access to it. So in the chat, I'm going to put the survey. And I would love for you to click on that and go to the survey and answer a few questions about yourself and about Schoology. And when you click on that link, hopefully it will take you here to a Google form. So take a minute and start answering these questions. And if you are not sure where I am, I'm going to repaste all of this, including the slideshow, in the chat again. The survey is that second link. So I'm going to give everybody a minute or so to answer these questions. One of my favorite things about Google Forms, real-time responses. Look at that. Already we have people weighing in on the survey. I love a good circle graph too. You can kind of see how the answers are updated. So if you are still kind of catching up, figuring things out, we did open the slideshow, and on slide number 2, you can either scan that QR code with your phone, or you can click on the link. It is on the slide and it is also in the chat. And once you are able to log into that survey and put your answers in there, that'll give me a good idea of my audience and what we need to know. So it looks like we've got an even number of high school and early elementary folks in the room. So about 17 responses so far. I know we've got, well, it looks like 50 participants. So I would love for you to click on the survey and take a minute and go ahead and log your answers. Now, I'm also aware that when you log into a Zoom session, a few things happen. Sometimes you log in never to pay attention again. Let's just be real. Sometimes you log in because you really just want to sit and you want to watch, and that's how you learn. And so when I tell you to click and go other places, it might just throw you for a loop. And I get that too. But then ideally, I would like for us to be somewhere in this range, which is it has some sit and get, but she also gives us some interactive opportunities. Because if I had it my way, we would all be in a big room learning this together face to face. Because as much as I love Zoom, I do know that we miss out on some of that face to face conversation. And hopefully, so this will be a little bit engaging, informational, all of that jazz. I try to do all of that in my sessions, which is not always easy. And you guys get that. You were a Zoom teacher or a Google Meet teacher on occasion last year, and it is tough. So anyway, we're up to 30. I think that's a pretty good sample of the group that we've got here. So grade level that you teach. So a lot of pre-K through second. Did y'all get together and go, hey, let's attend these? So some of the things that I talk about today, you may think this doesn't apply to me. I don't know how I'm going to use this. But Schoology right now, with the current way that it looks, is a little more business-like. I think it is friendlier to our middle and high school folks. But I will tell you that coming very soon is what Schoology calls the elementary experience. It is currently in beta, and I do not know when it will be available for Alabama schools. But there is a view called the elementary experience view, which makes your Schoology so much more visual. It's unfortunate we won't be able to start the school year with it, but I feel like it will be available before the school year's out, maybe even before December. And if that's the case, as soon as it's available, I'm sure that you will know about that and you may want to make that change. But other places in the country think we don't start to school till Labor Day, and down south we start much earlier. So they do not have that enhancement ready for everybody to use, but I think that's going to be something early elementary people are going to love. All right, so I see some of my people, 20% are on 9 to 12 folks, and so we will talk a little bit about that secondary experience in Schoology. So most of the people that I've worked with are in the same boat. I've logged in, looked around, not used it with students. Some of you may have tried it out. Some of you may have made some folders. I'm going to tell you that there are some tricks that we're going to use to kind of get you accustomed to the workflow in Schoology, and hopefully that will help. So, order of importance. So most important, we're kind of even on some of these. You want folders, you want graded assignments, you want quizzes, you want communication. So all of these are fairly important. Graded assignments is on up there, which I get. So we'll definitely look at that. And then specific questions. Okay, that makes me laugh so hard. Thank you. I'll add on the second question. I've never logged in before. All right, so what is Schoology? There you go. That's what I needed this afternoon. Perfect. All right, so let's just jump right in to what the heck is Schoology. And I do have a lot of resources available to you on Schoology, and I want to show you them on the atim.us website. So if you go to our site, atim.us, we have a page now that is PowerSchool and Schoology. When you get here, you can either use the menu at the top, or you can click Schoology Help, and it will get you to the same page. And then you're going to see the slideshow we're using right now, Schoology Basics, and then some other presentations from my colleagues on online learning in Schoology, creating assessments in Schoology, creating graded assignments in Schoology, and then a link to a folder that I'm going to give you access to as well that gives you tons of Schoology resources. A 3-hour session is not going to teach you everything you need to know about Schoology. It's going to get you started. And so as you get accustomed to it, as we were training during the year last year, we had specific people that wanted questions about a workshop for just assessments or just assignments. And so that information is there. So we will look at some of those resources in the folder later on. How do I get into Schoology? I mean, we already saw what the heck is Schoology. So how do I get into it? Each district has their own instance of Schoology. So I'm actually going to go to the ALSDE Schoology site that I use. But you guys will be going to the Etowah County website and logging in with your email credentials. And so I'm going to just put this link into the chat. If you want, I would encourage you to go to this site and go ahead and log in to your account in Schoology, because as I walk through these steps, it's going to make more sense if you can have your Schoology account open in another tab, and you may be able to walk these steps with me. I always feel like it is much better if you have an opportunity to try the skill as it's being taught, rather than try to remember everything I showed you at the end. So if you go there to etowahco.schoology.com and log in with your email credentials, you should see your Schoology site. So I'm going to go to my Schoology site, the ALSDE Schoology site, and it's got my course dashboard and everything that we are talking about. And I was just checking. Yeah, I just loaded another course the other day, and there it is. All right, so hopefully I've given you enough time to access the site, log in with your credentials, and open up Schoology. Now, we did have a slight hiccup the other day during training, but I feel like we should be good today. So I'm going to move right on. Now, I do have Miss Kim Reed in here today kind of helping me facilitate. So here's what I will tell you. I am a former high school teacher. I tend to talk fast. I try to slow myself down in a Zoom session. But there may be a point where you want me to back up, try that again. How did you get there? If you have one of those questions, if you'll drop it in the chat, then, or if Kim can interrupt me in a group this big, if we all unmute our mics and interrupt me, it'll be crazy town. So if you have a specific question, drop it in the chat and I'll try to address those as we go. So in this presentation, it got so large that I created a table of contents. This is going to help you with navigating through everything. We're going to look at the difference in courses, groups, and resources. Next, we're going to look at creating a course. So I typically recommend to teachers as they're learning the program to create a dummy course, a sandbox, a template course. You will have your courses loaded from PowerSchool, complete with your student rosters whenever everything goes live and that is pushed. But right now, you're probably not going to have any courses there, or you might, but last we checked, there was nothing. So create a course so you at least have something to play around with, kick the tires. And there is an added bonus to it, is that you can create some stuff and then copy it over when you get your course shells from PowerSchool. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about adding materials. That's where you're going to spend the bulk of your time, is you're going to be adding some materials to your site. And then we're also going to look briefly at the grade sync with PowerTeacher Pro in PowerSchool. I cannot replicate that because I don't have those two items connected in my training server, but I do have some screenshots from their help center that talks about it, and then link to a video that also shows the process. And then we're going to talk about copying and importing an entire course, which is going to be super helpful to you with the course you create today, and also at the end of the year when you're ready to copy multiple courses. All right, so navigation. So first of all, you got to figure out how the heck you get around this thing. So when you land on the Schoology homepage, you're going to see this this header bar up here, and you'll see either your Etowah County logo, or you're going to see, like I have the State Department logo here, or maybe just the Schoology logo. If you click that, it will always kind of take you back here to your course dashboard. You're going to see courses, groups, and resources, and we'll go through those items. But then across the top, you will see the search. You're going to see the App Center, a calendar, a messaging system, and we'll talk about that, an area where you can see that you have any notifications, and then your profile, and that's always going to be at the top. Next, you're going to land on your course dashboard. So as you accumulate a lot more courses, you're only going to see a limited amount of courses here. There is a place where you can see all of your courses in a list, but your course dashboard is kind of going to be a quick view of your courses. Now, one thing that we noticed, and there is a recent activity tab, but we don't have that on this slide. One thing that we noticed right over here in this area, when students started using the program, they totally ignored going to the course and going through the content and doing an assignment. I know you're shocked at this, but just like if you were in person with kids and you said, read chapter 5 and do the questions at the end of the chapter, we know a lot of the kids will not read chapter 5. They will immediately go to the questions at the end of the chapter. I was totally guilty of that. Now, what we want students to do, though, is we want them to have a good digital workflow. We want them to go to our course. We want them to go to a content folder, work through the content, then do the assessment or the assignment. But here's what kids are going to do. They're going to click right here to the assignment and completely ignore all the content. So I would practice with students the expectation of the workflow, because whether you show them that or not, they're going to figure that out. So show them that you want them to click the course, go to the folder, do the content before they go to the assignment. All right, communication. So you have two different sections where you can communicate with students from Schoology. The first one is at the top, and this is, I have to search for an individual student and I want to send them a message. So I can put the names in there, can search for them and send the message. If I am going to access an entire class and send a message, the best place to do that is within a course. And I'm going to show you where this lives. So if I go to this course, underneath the course is a section called Course Options. There is the Send Message option. This allows me to send a message to everybody in the class, the administrators only, or the members only. And that's it. It's an all or nothing, the whole class or nobody. So this might be the way you prefer to communicate with an entire class at a time. All right, so that is how we communicate. Now we're going to look at courses versus groups. So courses, these are for assignments, materials, grades, announcements, your calendar. Like, we know what a course is. So when I mentioned the course dashboard, when you click it, you're going to see kind of a grid of all of your courses, but it's not going to include every course. So let's say, like me, I've got a lot of courses. I'm only going to have like the last few that I accessed. To access your entire list and also to create or join a course, you have to click Courses at the top and then click My Courses all the way over there on the right. So if you're following along, now would be the time for you to go to your Schoology account, click on Courses, and then right over here, click on My Courses, and we're going to create a course. All right, so I am at Courses. Way over here, I click My Courses, and I have my listing. I got a lot, you have none. So you have a button over here that says Create a Course. So go ahead and take a minute and create your first course. Maybe you want to call this Caldwell's Sandbox, course template, whatever. Let's say I'm an English teacher, so let's say I teach like English classes, and I'm pretty much going to structure them the same way. And then I also teach like theater classes. So maybe my theater classes, I might do my folder structure a totally different way. So maybe I call this course name English Course Template. Okay, because not only are we gonna sort of kick the tires and try out a bunch of things in this course, we're also gonna look at creating our organization and folder structure so that we can just copy it all and end up importing it into our courses that come from PowerSchool. So I would choose my subject area. I'm going to choose other. My level is none. And you do have to choose a grading period. These are set up by your district. So I'm going to choose Sandbox, and then I would create. So I have already been playing around with some classes like Brandy's awesome Sandbox here. And so I already did some stuff in that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a new section in that particular course, section 2. And make sure I've chosen the Sandbox and create. So now I have a brand spanking new course. If I click on it, there it is, blank and ready to have stuff added to it. So that is a course. You can create a course. I don't have the button, but you also have a button there under My Courses called Join a Course. So with teachers that are just learning this program, I recommend often that you go join a fellow teacher's course and you guys practice workflow. So the teacher joins as a student and you assign something, let the teacher turn it into you and you look at that workflow. That's going to really be a great teacher for you before you unleash it on kids. All right, so that's courses. Next is groups. So groups are great for communication, collaboration. Outside the classroom, it's good for clubs, parents, grade level groups. If you are going to share resources with your other teachers, you want to make a group. So, and these groups can be across districts. So let's say I'm the only Spanish teacher at Hoax Bluff High School, but there are several Spanish teachers at Southside or wherever. We can make a foreign language teacher group and all share stuff. Maybe your grade level wants to make a group. So you can create a group. So how do I create a group? I'm going to go here to groups. Guess what? It's not a mystery. Click My Groups, just like you clicked My Courses, and create a group. And there you go. So I would create a group. I would call this like grade level collaboration. Description. What's my privacy? If it's organization, that means anybody in the district. If it's school or custom, you know, that's up to you. Invitation only, or maybe people can request, and then you choose a category and you create it. When you want to join a group, you click join group and people can give you an access code. to their group. So let me show you an example group. This is our ATEM teacher group. Notice I have an access code down here. That's the access code I would send to all of the teachers who want to join my group. Under members, I can see how many members I have. I can also add members and I can search. So if I have access to people, I can search and add them automatically. If I want all of them to be administrators in the group, in other words, they have all the same rights, you can make everybody an admin in the group. It doesn't really matter. You can also use groups not just for collaboration, but for clubs, for teams. So this is a great way for you to share information within groups. All right, so we talked about courses and groups, but what are resources? Resources actually feed into both courses and groups. Resources have several different options over here on the left. There are personal resources. So this is your own personal filing cabinet. Anything you create, you can upload or save here to personal filing cabinet and reuse and pull into any course. So let's say I made an entire folder of like reading resources. I can save all those handouts, slideshows, links, everything in a folder, and then go to any course and import those things into any course. Next, if I go, I'm going to skip public, but if I go to group, remember I said groups is a great place to share stuff. So I can not only put it in my personal filing cabinet, but I can also send it to my group content. And that way, anybody in my group can access it. So this is great if you're making common benchmarks, common assessments, using the same slideshows for vocabulary, same quizzes. Share them all in your group resources. At any point, a teacher can go into their Schoology course, say import from resources, and just grab anything you've shared with them. The last option is apps. So you can access any application like Google Drive by connecting it here. Now, you guys are a Google District single sign-on, so probably you're already seeing the Google Drive resource app. There are other apps that can be found in the App Center right here. I'm going to go to the App Center. And so some of these may require administrative access. And just because you can't add this app to your Schoology doesn't mean you can't use it, because if it is shareable with a link, you can definitely use it. But if I click on one of these, I can install the app if I have administrative privileges. And some of these are only going to work if you are paying for a subscription to that particular service. So you can see that YouTube is a resource app that I've added, Evernote, Dropbox. I just happen to have accounts with these. IXL Learning is one that some people have been interested in. And this may be something that your district can go ahead and install for you, or it may be something that you can install yourself. So you might check out some of these apps. Like I said, just because you don't connect it doesn't mean it's not usable. It just means it won't be as functional as if you installed the application itself. So that's under resources. But I want to show you one other thing that I don't cover in the slideshow, and it's public. So just like I love something like Kahoot that has a gallery of like thousands of ready-made things that I can use, so does Schoology. So I can actually go, I'm looking for English language arts. I am looking for ninth grade, or that's eighth grade, sorry, ninth grade. And then as I scroll down, I can see all of these resources and options that are ninth grade English language arts. For some reason, it's taken a minute. I also have some other filter options like file format. Maybe I want to see links, files, folders, rubrics. So if I find something I like, so literature circle roll sheets, love it. I click this button. It is automatically added to my personal resources. if I want to look at it first, which would probably be a good idea, I can see all of this. I can click each of these. I can decide if it's something I want or not. So anyway, I love that. I love the under resources, you have public where you can search for other people's resources. But you can see here in my home filing cabinet, I've got a lot of things that I have saved. And then that one that I just added, oh, I think it's right here in public resources. Nope, downloads, there it is. So downloads is where I can find any of these resources that I wanted to use. All right, so after we've added some resources, we did just talk about creating a course. My tip is make a course template, add your resources, get it like you like it, and then we can import it. Now, I did want to include this. These are screenshots from the Help Center in Schoology. I cannot replicate this task, but a lot of my secondary people, particularly my high school teachers, may want to link sections together. So for example, if I teach 9th grade English, first period, third period, and fourth period, I may want to link those sections together, meaning when I do one thing in one course, it automatically replicates it in all courses. So the way you do that is you go to the My Courses list, and over on the right side of your section is a gear. And that gear right there allows me to link existing section. So I would say I want sections 2 and 3 to be linked. And then once I link them, everything is linked. One thing you do not want to do is you do not want to unlink them once you have started adding grades and information. So here's an example when I'm creating an assignment in sections that are linked. You can see that I do have the ability to select sections that it goes to and customize if I wanted to. So there's an example. First period is this, everyone else is this. And so you can dictate the class. And when you look at the grade book, notice it's called section 1, section 2. So imagine this is like second period and third period. You would need to go to the grade book and swap grade books because you're not going to have several different courses listed. You're going to have one course linked. So that's all I know about that because I can't replicate that, but I do know some high school teachers really liked the idea of linking their sections because they were going to be pushing out assignments exactly identical in every period. So that's a recommendation I would make is link your sections. All right, so now we're going to look at the left navigation menu in a course. And I'm actually going to go to a teaching course that I use to demonstrate this. And so this is our menu on the left, and this is kind of what we're focusing on this slide. So I already mentioned course options. So this is where I can edit the course. I can send a message. This is also, I mentioned this earlier, I want to show you this. When I go to course options, when that elementary experience is rolled out for my teachers who teach littles, where it says edit, privacy, and course settings, where we see course privacy, there will also be course view as an option, and you can actually dictate your course view to the elementary experience. At least that's what it looks like you're going to be able to do on the Help Center. So anyway, that's what you see, and I'm actually going to go to my brand spanking new blank course, which I think will make a little bit more sense to you. So here we are. So you're going to have the course options up here, and then you're going to land by default on the materials page. The materials page, lets you upload anything. Pretty much, if you can imagine it, you can upload it on the materials page. This is where you're going to spend most of your time. Underneath that is updates. This is where you can communicate with your class. If you are used to using Google Classroom, this is similar to your stream page, but keep in mind, this is not where kids will land. They will have to click there to see the updates. If you make something an announcement, which I'll show you how to do that, it will show up at the top of the materials page. So if it's important, I would make it an announcement. Otherwise, they may not click over there. Next is gradebook. So I've already mentioned this. I mentioned it in Power Teacher Pro session this morning. There is a grade pass back feature that happens between Schoology and Power Teacher Pro. So let's say I've made some graded assignments, some discussion posts and assessments, and those are graded in Schoology. I will eventually have a Power School app at the bottom here where I will click and sync, and it will pass the name of the assignment and the score from Schoology to Power Teacher Pro. It is a one-way grade pass, which means if I create something in Power Teacher Pro, it does not feed to the Schoology gradebook. So I'm encouraging people to make sure students and parents know the official gradebook is not the Schoology gradebook. The official gradebook is Power Teacher Pro, which is what will show up in the parent portal. Next is grade setup. We will look at what you need to do in grade setup for that pass back. Mastery, which I have not played a lot with, it has to do with standards alignment. Badges, if you want to make digital badges to reward students. Attendance, don't bother. Currently, attendance is not going to be pulled from Schoology. It will only be in the Power Teacher portal. Next up is members. If you want to see who is in your class, you can click there. If you have a teacher join your class, you can make them a co-teacher. So you can make them an admin. The only thing you need to know about that is if you make a teacher an admin with you as a co-teacher, they have every right. So I normally encourage, hey, special ed teachers, intervention teachers, EL teachers, make them co-teachers in your class, but keep in mind, making them an admin gives them all the rights. So it's professional conversation. You say, hey, I'm going to make you a co-teacher. Please don't mess with the grade book assignments, whatever. But I love that a special ed teacher can see and keep up with assignments for the kids on their caseload. Next is analytics. It was a little bit spotty last year. Analytics is supposed to show you how often a student has logged in and how much time they spent. I don't think it was always very accurate. And then workload planning is also something to look at, how much workload a student has. All right, so just kind of walking through some of these pieces. Members, remember I said you can go over here to the gear and you can make someone an admin and they are now a co-teacher in your class. When it comes to updates, if you click updates and you write an update for your students, you cannot just click post. You need to click the speech bubble and the bell. The bell makes it an announcement and it will live at the top of your page. So we're going to look at adding materials because that's really where you're going to spend the most time. Let's see. I'm looking at a question in the chat. So she was saying struggling with creating a course. So when you create a course, you definitely have to choose a grading period that is within the date range, like right now. So hopefully the district has a grading period that covers right now and beyond. Ours is called Sandbox. I don't know if you guys have a what am I trying to say? Like a date range. So if I'm going to courses and my courses, and I'm going to create one, I definitely have to create a grading period that covers the dates. So like these are all grayed out because they don't exist anymore. This one goes till July 30th, 2021. So guess what? After July 30th, this wouldn't let me create the course. So I definitely would need to have like we have a sandbox grading period that goes to 2024. I don't know if you have a grading period that covers that time, but that may be where you're getting an error. I don't know if anyone else had that same error. Oh, awesome. She said she got it fixed. So there you go. I'm glad that that got fixed. So we'll jump back into adding materials. So I'm going to look back at my blank course and look at adding materials. And so this is where you add materials. You've got assignments, quizzes, assessments, everything. And this slide kind of shows you that. You're going to want to add folders to begin with. That's what we're going to look at initially, is how you're going to organize your class. As a secondary person, I may not want to organize my class like as week 1, week 2, week 3. I might organize my British literature class as the Anglo-Saxon period and the medieval period and the Renaissance period. You may want to do yours if you are a science teacher based on your units of study. Some people, though, want to stick with those weeks, or you might have a folder called First 9 Weeks. And within First 9 Weeks, week 1, week 2, week 3. And within week 1, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So all of these are folder structures to consider. So we're going to practice those folder structures. Next, adding assignment. These are things that are going to be graded. If I make it an assignment and I enable grading, it is going to go into the Schoology gradebook. Now, some of it may be something I have to hand grade. Some of it may be self-grading based on what I choose. And then I've got add file link external tool. Any handouts, any links. So this morning I had some questions about stuff from Google Classroom, Google Forms. If it is not something you can pull in from like the Google Drive resource, if it's got a link, you can put it here. So anything that you use, IXL, Renaissance, you can put the link here and students can go out to whatever. You've also got discussion, which can be graded or ungraded. Page, which is what we're going to look at. I really think pages are a great way for you to add content, media rich content, and then a media album if you want to add pictures. This import from resources is the magic button when it comes to grabbing stuff from that resource page and adding it to your course. So folders, you've got to use folders to organize how you want your students to see your course. So let's look at a folder structure. So I'm going to say add folder. And I'm going to give it a name. Maybe I'm going to call this week 1. And I'm going to make it red. And then I'm going to maybe put a bulleted list here. Assignments for week 1, checklist of grades, and helpful links. So maybe that's a bulleted list of everything they're going to find in the week 1 folder. So some people will do this. A lot of people will set a date for that folder. You can make that a publish on a start date or during a date range. You can make it unpublished until you're ready for students to see it. So one word of warning that I had from my sister-in-law who works in Mississippi and has been using Schoology for quite some time. So let's say I create this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. And we're on week 2. Okay, so I'm going to add another folder. And create. All right, so week 1 is over and I really want to hide it from my students. If week 1 had graded assignments in it, it's my understanding that if you unpublish it, it also unpublishes the grades. So I'm saying don't do that. One tip a teacher had was make a folder called completed work or previous week's work. Okay, and that one is green. And now I can like move this folder to the previous week's work area. So that's one way to address that if you want to keep this interface kind of clean for your students, because obviously it can get really, really long. I also want to mention to you, if you add materials here from the top, everything that you add will stack at the bottom. But here's a hot tip. If you hover over these divider lines, you can actually add the material right there where you want it. So don't always click add materials at the top. Go to the divider line where you want it. So I want the next folder to be week 3. I say add folder. Whoops, I gotta spell it correctly. Not week 3. This one is blue and create. So if I had added it up here at the top, it would have been at the bottom. You can drag things if you need to around. So you can do that. So maybe I want that one at the top. So you can click and drag things. You cannot drag it into this folder, I don't believe. Well, maybe we can. No. So you can only click and drag them and move them around. But if I needed to move something, I would have to click move here. All right, so you can kind of see how we create that folder structure. The benefits of using folders, you can organize, you can use colors, you can use subfolders. All of those things are going to make it easier for kids to navigate your class. Now, before we move on to pages, I want to talk about working smarter and not harder. All right, so I'm going to open up week 1 folder, and guess what I need to add? Subfolders. So I'm going to add a folder called Monday. And guess what I'm going to do? Add another folder called Tuesday. And you get the point. All right, so let's say I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, done. All right, I don't want to make this 18 times for a semester. So here's what I recommend you do. I'm going to go back to the top of this course. Notice I have this particular one, just like I like it, with all my folder structure ready to go. I can now save to resources. Week 1 folder, complete with all the days of the week. Save to resources. So I'm going to save it in my home folder, which is my personal resources cabinet. I'm not going to save it in a folder. I'm just going to say save copy. All right, now the magic. Okay, I'm going to import from resources. I'm going to go here and find it. What was it called? Week 1. Booyah. Import. Import. Guess what I'm going to do to this? I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to call it week 2. I'm going to make it orange. Look what I just did. I just saved a ton of time. So I can save any section of this to resources and then essentially paste it in instead of doing this over and over and over. So I see a question in the chat. If previous week's folder is unpublished and you move it, then the students can't see it, right? So here's what I would say. Previous week's work doesn't need to be unpublished, because when I move stuff there, if it unpublishes everything, it unpublishes all their grades. So this folder would need to be viewable all the time, because unpublishing unpublishes the scores associated with that folder. So I'm going to leave that published. I'm going to unpublish all of these other weeks. Okay, so I'm unpublishing. Why I have week 2 twice. Whoops. All right, so kids are going to log in. They're going to see previous week's work and week 1. When I'm ready, I publish week 2. And then I'm going to move week 1 into previous week's work. So I didn't unpublish it because if I had, it would unpublish their scores. But I moved it out of the view of the students. And so for a lot of teachers, they like that clean interface. I'm the weirdo that would probably just leave all the folders out and ready for them to access, except I'm going to hide everything we haven't done yet. And then maybe after we do an entire 9 weeks, I might put a folder called First 9 Weeks and put all the previous week's work into that one, and then make another folder for second 9 weeks. So it's just something to think about when it comes to your folder structure. All right, so I'm going to edit this one and call it week 3 and week 4. So imagine that I did the whole work smarter, not harder, and I copied a week's worth of folders multiple times, so I've got it ready to go. With the whole idea of working smarter, here's what you need to do. You get all your folders ready to go. You've got 9 weeks worth of folders, Monday through Friday in each of those folders. You've got it looking like you like it. You don't have any materials in there, but you have your folder structure ready to go. Here's what you do. I've got everything ready to go. I go to options. I say save course to resources. This is going to grab all 9 weeks, all 18 weeks, however you have it set up, of folders. I'm going to save it. And then when I go to resource, it says it's a large operation, but it's really not that large. So I'm just going to pretend like it's not going to take a long time. And I can go over here and hopefully it will be saved at the very bottom. There it is. And when I click on this, there is all my folders. Now, what's weird, folder color doesn't come over. It is what it is. All right, so why do I care? Here's why. If I go and imagine, fast forward a week or so, and Power School courses have all been pushed out for you. So I can then, I'm going to add another section so that you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. So I open up this crazy blank course. Oh no, what do? This is first period biology, and I'm ready. I want that whole folder structure in here. I'm going to go to add materials, import from resources. All the way to the bottom. Don't just click the whole folder. Go here. Grab all the folders individually, import. And boom, I have all my folders, 9 weeks of folders loaded into my Power School scheduled courses. So that's the reason why I promote building a sandbox class. Play around with the folder structure, get it like you like it, figure all that out. Then you can send it to resources. And when the Power School classes and your rosters come in, you can go and import everything from resources into that course. And it saves you a ton of time because you're not building it in every course. You're building it one time. You're importing that whole thing over or saving that whole thing to resources and then importing it from your resources. All right, so I'm gonna click the back button, which doesn't really recommend that you do, but here we are. So this is my original course that we were playing in. And now we're gonna look at adding other types of materials. So we've got our folders. Everything looks great. Now we're gonna be adding a bunch of content. So my recommendation when you are front loading some content for students is to use pages. Pages are great. You can put pictures, videos, text. It's a really great way to present content to your students. If you have something else like Edpuzzle or IXL, You can embed these things if there is an embeddable code from them, or you can also add links. So let's look at this. So in week 2, I am going to open my Monday folder and I'm going to add a page. So here it is, awesome content page. All right, so I've got some things I can play around with here. So I can say this is awesome content, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I can add whatever I want to here. I can make it bold. I can do underline. I can change the font color. I can go in here and make something highlighted if I want to. So you've got all of these different features. You can increase the indent. You can align things. So if you like everything centered, you can. One thing I recommend a lot of times just to keep it looking clean is adding a table. So I'm going to add a table that has 3 sections to it. So this first section is going to be bell ringer activity. Okay, the next section is going to be video and textbook info. And then this next one is going to be next steps. All right, so I can kind of space things out the way I want. And then also I can make this centered. And so as I add content, it will stay lined up. It looks nice. So you're saying add content, Brandy. What does that mean? Well, I can add a link right here. So let's say my video is like a YouTube video. Whoops, video to watch. Okay, I can simply link anything if I want to. And I know this is not a video, but here we go. So anything I can link right there, done. What if I want to insert some more engaging content? That's the whole purpose of a page. This button right here is the insert content button. This is your key to all the good stuff. So if I know I want to put an image here, I can attach an image that I have. I was going to say, do I have anything I can just quickly pull in here? Sure. Let's pull a my logo. There we go. So there's my logo. It's a little bit large. I can click this and actually determine the dimensions, or I can just drag these little dots and make it smaller. Okay, so maybe I put an image there. Another thing that I can do on that image and media is if I choose from the web and I choose media, I can actually choose anything with embed code. And so I've been using the example of Edpuzzle. Pretty much anything with embeddable code will work here. And so here's an example of an activity. And it has an embed code. So I'm going to copy. And right here, when I go to from the web and I choose media, I can actually insert that media here. And we'll look at what that looks like in just a second. And then maybe my next steps, when I go to insert content, maybe I'm going to put something from Google Drive. So the beauty of this being connected with Google Drive is anything in your Google Drive you have access to. Now, let me go ahead and mention, when you open Google Drive here, whether it's in resources or here, if you delete something here, it deletes it in your for real Google Drive. So keep that in mind. If you add something here, it adds it in Google Drive. If you delete something, it goes away in Google Drive. So this is real-time Google Drive. All right, so I'm going to say I want to add a presentation. And let's see, let's do this comic book template. So I'm going to choose that. Now I'm actually going to choose import embed. So now it's embedded in my page. And here is it. I'm going to resize that a little bit too. All right, so I've got all of this stuff. Let's look and see what it looks like. So I'm just going to say create. And I click on it. I have a photo. I have an Edpuzzle activity. I have a Google slideshow. I can also open it full screen. So anything in Google, whether it's Doc, whether it is a slideshow, anything, all that is embedded in a page. Now, I also want to show you a couple of other tricks. So let's say that I have something specific I want to embed, and I know a little bit about coding. I can actually use these two dots and I can switch to HTML. Now, for some of you, you're like, stop. That just blew my mind. So if you don't know HTML, don't even mess with this. You can import things there by choosing from the web and media. But you also have this option. If you want to, you can pull any kind of code there and make it fancy. So you've got that option. The other thing I wanted to bring your attention to is the ability to add some attachments. So a lot of my teachers are adding attachments here, like files, links, something from resources. So the page will be there, and these will kind of be under the page. One thing I'm seeing a lot of teachers use is the audio video recording section. This is great for the littles. This is great for EL and special ed. You can record a quick video, a quick mini lesson, and attach it to the page. So that's a neat way to add content. All right, the other thing I wanted to show you, so you notice how we had to click and open up this page? This is a neat feature. Right down here at the bottom, I'm going to click Display Inline. Watch the difference. I don't have to click anything. It's just there. All right, so watch this. I go to week 2. Monday. I don't have to click it. It's already there. So I would definitely do the inline, and then you can add your assignment to the bottom of this. Or maybe the assignment is at the top and you say, please explore the awesome content page before you start this assignment. All right, so pages. Pages are very media rich. Add your videos, add your embeddable content, links, whatever you want. But you can also create a graded assignment that can accompany your content. Keep in mind your content doesn't have to be in a media page. It could just be a handout. It could just be a slideshow or a file. But these are all the steps you'll need to create a graded assignment. So once I create it here and it's graded, I would use that passback feature to send that grade over to PowerTeacher Pro. So this is the creating an assignment feature that you can do in Schoology. First of all, I can add information here like directions. Heads up, if you add directions here, when the students click to submit, they can't see the directions anymore. So just know that. Detailed directions probably need to go in the assignment, like the handout that goes with the assignment, because they won't be able to see these directions. But very similarly to the page formatting, you have all of these formatting options. You also have the ability to assign something from Google Drive, so we're going to look at that. If you happen to have the Kami extension installed or you pay for Kami, that will be available to you. You've got a due date. You have to use a category. So you're going to want to set up your grade book to reflect the categories that exist in PowerTeacher Pro, if you want all of this to talk to one another. We will look at that shortly. Your grading period, numeric, and then at the bottom, notice a few things. Enable submissions. So I can create a grade and assignment and kids can see it, but if it's not enabling submissions, they can click all day long and it will tell them it's not accepting submissions yet. So that's one way kind of not publishing it, or you can also just hide it altogether. And then copy to multiple courses lets me send this to multiple courses. So if I don't have my sections linked, I may want to do this. So I'm going to add a graded assignment. So I'm going to say read the handout and complete after looking at content. All right, so that's my brief instructions. I can add something here if I needed to, like a picture, like a video, whatever. I can also add things here at the bottom. A lot of teachers add a mini lesson with the video recording. So the assignment is already packaged with a short video explaining how to work a problem or a handout or a slideshow. All right, I'm going to assign this from Google. So I'm going to click Google Drive Assignments. And I'm going to click on Master Going Deeper with Google Docs. And then I'm going to click Attach. So notice what it does. Similar to Google Classroom, it automatically creates a copy of the file for each student. So let me tell you this. When it comes to, I'm going to copy this to multiple classes. If I don't have my sections linked, then I'm going to have to make sure that I go in and attach that Google piece to each class. It's a weird, annoying thing, and many people have complained, but it is what it is. It has to do with the giving a copy to each student, that you have to reattach it in each class. So just know that. I can give it a due date. I'm going to go ahead and just say it's due Friday. It's worth 100 points. Choose my category. Now, I don't have any categories created, so I'm going to create one. And numeric, and it is submissions are enabled already. So I'm going to copy it to multiple courses. So if I was going to do that, it's going to ask me the folder where I want it to go. So if your sections are not linked, you would need to send it to the multiple classes. And if, let's say, I have this assignment created, but this assignment is only for my 3 kids with an IEP, I can actually choose these 3 dots, which means individually assign. When I do that, it is going to let me start searching for people. And right now I don't have any members in this class, so it's not going to show anybody. But if I start typing their name, I can actually assign it to individual students. And create. And I put it up here at the very top. So let me scroll up there. Awesome content assignment. It is ready to go for the student. All right, so this is what it looks like on the teacher end. You give it a title, write some directions, insert your content, attach anything you want, give it a category, create. This is what the student will see. So when the student clicks submit assignment, you see what I mean? This goes in front of what the student would see as far as direction. But I wanted you to see on the student end that they have 3 possible ways to send you their assignment. They can upload. So let's say they've created it somewhere, Google Docs or Word, or they drew a picture and they take a photo of their picture and then submit it digitally to you. They can click submit and they're able to upload from their computer. The second option they have is create. This is fantastic for your littles who just want to create a document straight there in the text box. Now, keep in mind, if we gave them a Google Drive attachment, they would work in that Google Drive attachment, and when they're finished, you would see that attachment in their submission. But this is, let's say I didn't attach anything. So a student can write directly in this. Notice they can save it and come back to it. And then the third option is resources. So this is a tab that allows them to put stuff in their filing cabinet and pull it out as well. They can also pull from Google Drive here if they needed to. All right, the student finishes, yay, assignment submitted. On the teacher end, this is what you would see, needs grading. And when you're ready to return the files to students, it tells you how to do that. This is what it looks like when you're grading something. So for this particular assignment, this was done in the create section. And so it's just something typed in. If I have a touch screen, I can actually draw on here. I'm terrible at that. I can add little sticky note comments on the graded item. I can add personal comments to the student and a grade. So we're going to look at the Power Teacher Pro grade passback. It is, I mean, these are just screenshots because I don't have access to this feature, but it is an installed app for your Schoology course. So I'm assuming this is something that is going to show up for you guys. Is it already there? Can someone in the chat tell me if you happen to see something on the left side of Schoology that says Power School for you guys? I don't know if that app is actually configured yet in any of the Schoology sections. So, oh, you guys have it. Katie says yes. That makes me super excited. So I don't have it, which is frustrating because I'm trying to show it to people. But basically, that app is on the left side of your course. When you launch it, it is going to have you map your grading categories. So let's take just a minute and talk about what that means. So in Schoology, you have a section called Grade Setup. So just like in your gradebook in Power Teacher Pro, you'll have categories set up. So maybe your district says you must have tests, classwork, and homework. Maybe your school says you have to have certain categories. Maybe you can create whatever categories you want. Whatever the case may be, one thing that's important is that your categories match. So if I know I'm going to need additional categories like classwork and another category called tests, I'm going to want to make these three categories and utilize them in Schoology, because for this app to work, you will have to map your categories. So already in Power Teacher Pro, let's say I have classwork, homework, projects, and quizzes. Then I'm going to need to make sure I have the exact same categories, or I map categories that are close to the same. I would just say name them the same. So it tells you have to map them. So that's something you do right at the beginning. And this is a note for me, my high school people that may be linking courses. You must configure the app in each section. So it tells you how to do that if you've already linked those sections. And then it says, depending on the settings, you may or may not be able to launch it from the course. And then it talks about the corresponding categories having to be mapped. Some other notes. If you like the overall grade to match the overall grade in PowerSchool, make sure you configure the following: same number of categories, same weighted categories. The calculated by setting of grading categories is set to total points. I believe that means in Schoology, it's set for total points. The factor for all assignments is set to 1. And then they've got kind of a discrepancy checklist that might be something that you look at. I'm excited because August 3rd, I'll actually be in a district where we will play around with these two tools. And I'm going to try to kind of do a video of it because I don't think I'll have access to it. But basically, how do I sync? Once you've got those categories mapped, when you're in the grade book, you will see this little sync tool. And so it looks, the grade book looks like this. And based on that screenshot, I'm seeing this area. I think that is where you're going to see that sync tool. You'll see that clipboard and that syncing tool at the top of your grade book. So what information transfers? You're only going to see the name of the assignment and the score. So this question happens all the time. So how immediately does this happen? I don't know. That's the answer. It looks like it is a process. So I don't know how long this process is going to take. So I'm a super nerd and I am a member of several Facebook groups of teachers using Schoology, teachers using Power Teacher Pro. And so you have some teachers that have complained that this is not a quick process. So there you go. That's all I know about that. But it is a process that has to happen. And notice you can see from this that if there are errors, like you don't have a category in an assignment, it won't sync. So frequently asked questions, it doesn't support percentage-based calculations. So all scores in Power Teacher Pro calculate as total points. And so this is where I'm confused, whether the total points has to be set in both or how that works. So I'm hoping to get more clarification on that. And I'll try to get that information to you because I'm seeing maybe that's not the case in both situations. If an item is ungraded, it won't sync with Power School. You have to resync occasionally. And if you have to delete an assignment, do it in Power Teacher Pro and then sync. And it says it can typically take several hours. So you see what I mean about the time discrepancy there. There is a video. We had a presenter at AETC from Schoology that talked about this process. And so that may be where I can find all the details about the total points part. I've watched sections of it, and then I had to do this presentation. So anyway, hopefully that will give us more information about categories versus total points. So this section, I've kind of already talked a little bit about it, but this is also good if you're going to import an entire course. So for this particular course, so let's say I have finished the course. We're at the end of the year. I've got it like I like it with all my assignments, materials, everything I've worked really hard on building. I'm going to say save course to resources. I'm going to save the whole course with everything in it. It's going to ask me where I want to put it. I'm going to put the course wherever I want the course to be. Now, when I go to my new Power School courses for next year, and I'm ready to teach the same class, I can go to import from resources and grab the entire course. And I have an asterisk here. Don't just import the folder. If you do, you'll have just a big fat folder right there. So you want to open the folder and you want to see all the subfolders. That's what you want to import because you don't want it all to be packaged in one big fat folder. I did want to mention this. I didn't talk about this earlier. You can edit this picture on your course. This is going to be significant because check this out. My courses, if I didn't have different colors and graphics, it makes it a lot more difficult to figure out what course is what. One thing that I recommend if you're a secondary teacher and you're going by period numbers, maybe your picture actually includes the period number of your course. Now, one tool that I love is called Canva, and there is a premium account for Canva for Education, and you can sign up for it. You can apply to get this particular tool, and this is Canva. If you have not used it, it is awesome. You can sign up with your school email, and I use Canva all of the time. And I'm just going to show you. I make all my graphics in Canva. It is super easy. And so you can see there that I made this graphic, and it's just like a square graphic. And I use that in all of my courses. All my PLUs, I just changed the color of it. but you can also add like a number as your course graphic. And I think that makes a huge difference when you're looking at your course dashboard. All right, so we have talked about this as a whole, this tool as a whole, and it's a lot. If you can think of a question that you want to ask in the chat, add that there as I'm kind of going over some of these last items. So on this slide, I'm a big fan of Spotify, so I actually have a playlist on here. If you would like to have it for yourself or for your classroom, some fun songs there. But I also have a shared Schoology folder. Now this Schoology folder is going to have some useful tips for Schoology, some of my other presentations that I've done on Schoology. One thing, and I've got to still update this, is a handout. So a lot of people like a paper handout. And so this is a handout over a lot of the things we have gone over today. And it's got a linked table of contents as well in that handout. Some other items in here, adding materials, a digital learning agreement, which is super helpful. I've got a folder in there that is helpful tips for Schoology. So if you want to add Edpuzzle, here's a tip for that. If you want to do video conferencing, how do I remove a completion rule? So there is a way to set up something called completion rules. So a student has to do certain folders before they can do an assignment. That's there. How to add interactive like Bitmoji stuff or Google Slides to your page. A Schoology parent handbook somebody made. That's pretty cool. A Schoology scavenger hunt. How to make announcements. Tips and tricks. This folder is a wealth of knowledge. A lot of things I use to learn about Schoology. And then if you're fancy and you're extra, there are Schoology themes. So if you want an entire cute little set of stuff that you can use in Schoology, people have shared this, and you can go in and you can make some edits. There are directions how to do it. With the Schoology themes, make a copy, and there are buttons, and like if you're extra, this folder is for you. So just to let you know that you can be fancy in Schoology. Here is instructions on how to do a banner that lives at the top of your class. My colleague Barry Wigington uses Google Drawing, and he gives you the recommended size for a banner. You can also use Canva. I've actually used Google Slides for this, and you may not realize this, but you can go into Google Slides and you can actually dictate the size. So if you go to File and go to Page Setup and Custom, you can dictate the size. I think I said the size is 9.5 by 3. So I can say 9.5 by 3 inches. And there's my banner. And so now I can decorate this, put my Bitmoji, put my class name, whatever I want, and make that a banner at the top of my class. So there's instructions on that. And then what you need to do to actually add that banner image to your page. And so we've got the instructions for that. I do want to show you a couple of courses where I got kind of fancy. And it is like this elementary demo course. I put a banner at the top. I also hyperlinked all of these buttons. And one solution that I have found elementary teachers like is that a lot of my self-contained elementary teachers have like a homeroom course. And linked off of your homeroom course, I think it's at the bottom. Yeah, here it is. Linked off of your homeroom course are your other courses. So Power School is going to throw in a reading class, a science class, a social studies class, but all your kids are self-contained, it's the same group. So they're going to go to homeroom, and you want them to go to one place and then go to the other courses. So you can actually create a linked banner up here. And then I have each subject below. So if they click reading, it actually takes them to their reading course. So how do I do that? Every course has a dedicated URL up at the top. If I copy that and I link it to a picture or anything, I'm taking them to that course. So keep that in mind when you are planning the structure of your kids. And see, I've got this linkable banner always sending them back to homeroom. I go to math. This is their math course. So think about how you want your students to progress through their courses, and how you want those assignments to feed in to your Schoology, to your Power Teacher Pro class. So I think it's a lot to think about when you're setting up your class overall. Hopefully everything I showed you today, it's not too totally overwhelming, that it is something that you feel like you'll be able to do. I've already told you that I'm going to try to be available to you that second week in August. So I'm putting my email down here. Reach out to me if you have specific Schoology questions. I'll try to get those answers to you.